don't you have her give you the words? I'm doing whatever. And so I overhear them in the other room, and Katrina's saying, I don't know what this word is. And my son's like, well, how's it spelled? But they remember those things too. So that's, I love that they're that close, like you said, they do have fights and that sort of thing, but they all do get along very, very well. Another thing about Seton that I really, really like is that you can call, if you're enrolled in their program, you can call the school and get help from a teacher anytime. You can call every day, you can call every hour, you can call never, whatever works for you. We've done a little bit of both depending on the assignments. So we have used Seton, this is our 7th year using it, and they had originally started as teachers in school who would grade homeschoolers' work, and several years ago there was an amicable split, and Seton Home Study is its own thing now. In fact, we saw the school, the office building where all the teachers and the curriculums are. We went last year to Front Royal, Virginia when our daughter graduated from their program, and got to see where the books come from and that sort of thing, and met a lot of the teachers face to face, which was really, really neat. The other thing I have to say in its favor, it is solidly Catholic, and if you're feeling like you might not be covering your faith enough in your schooling because you're so focused on academics, that's one area where Seton kind of can help you out. I don't know if you brought her English book. They don't use exclusively Catholic books, like their phonics and some of their other books are Christian based but not Catholic. But just for instance, in her English book, when they were talking about verbs and underlining, they do an entire lesson with Father Joseph at. So all the sentences have to do with something in the church like that too. So it kind of reinforces everything. One of the other things is that you can make substitutions. Like next year we're going to substitute a different math program for our son. They use Saxon and I think Modern Curriculum Press are their maths, and he did not do well with Saxon this year. Up until now he was doing okay, but we're going to make a substitution and do it as an independent study, and that will still go as part of his transcripts with them. And it doesn't affect your enrollment or their credits or anything like that, as long as it's an acceptable, something that they accept as a substitution. The other thing is my husband, at one time, not so much now, really wanted our kids to have a diploma when they graduated. And so that was what we got to do. Last year we got to go to Virginia, go to commencement. They did a beautiful ceremony. There were 85 or 86 kids from all over the country and Canada that came to commencement. And they held that at Christendom University, so that was neat. We got to walk around the university also and see that. And then, like I said, with the lesson plans being laid out for you, the kids can kind of work independently too. A lot of times I will just have them sit down and say, you need to look at your lesson plan for today. And they'll start working on their own, and then if they have any questions, they come to me. So that kind of teaches them to work a little independently. And then, like I touched on before about writing, I didn't realize how happy I was with their expectations for writing papers until our oldest daughter graduated. We also did the same thing that Elena talked about. We implemented a tutor for our oldest daughter because the idea of homeschooling in high school freaked me out more than starting homeschooling when she was kindergarten. And so we did use a private tutor with Roberts. Our daughter met with her once a week, face-to-face, and then she would submit stuff to her via email in between, and the papers that she was having to write. That was our personal choice. She could have called the school and spoken with the teachers there, but their guidelines were, I think, 2 submissions to a teacher to look over, and then that was it. And then she had to submit the paper. Where this was kind of weekly thing, and she needed that extra help. She is a phenomenal writer now. She got straight A's in her first year in college, and the beauty of that too is I feel like we are getting a return on our investment every time one of our younger kids has a paper to write. She reads them now. I read very few of those book reports because I don't know if it's because I've gotten older or what, but I need absolute quiet to read their book reports so that I can, because I could read it and go, oh, that was really good, but I'm not going, okay, you need to, adjust this or looking for mistakes. So it helps to have older kids who have been through the program already and they know what Seton expects and can kind of give them a little advice on what to do. Before I go on, does anybody have any questions about Seton? I kind of went through it quickly. It seems kind of overwhelming when you look at, what they send you, but it was a relief to me to just say, oh, okay, that's what I need to be covering. So does anybody have any questions about that?
I can make a little comment about Seton. I was homeschooled through Seton,
yes.
Through high school, and it may seem overwhelming, but from the kids' perspective, it seems like Christmas in the middle of August, because suddenly you have a box and it's all new books. And how can you not just sort of peek into the covers and say, oh, well, that one looks interesting. So, yes, a lot of stuff comes, but in another way, it's nice to have a whole box full of treasures that you get to open up.
What does it tend to, I hate to bring it up money, but what does it tend to run? And with senior, you're paying a tuition.
Yeah, tuition, it's a reduced tuition by far. I'm trying to remember what we paid this year. We only have two of our kids enrolled with Seton right now. Last year we had 3 of them enrolled, and we actually, what I wanted to say before I answer that is we still do pick and choose with our youngest kids. I didn't feel the need to spend the money to enroll them with Seton and have to finish, certain subjects. So we do still pick and choose. So we don't enroll them until about 3rd or 4th grade when they're starting to do a little bit more writing and that sort of thing. Last year, I know for sure with our oldest, there's different fees. There's a high school fee, there's a junior high fee. Kindergarten is separate.
We have a Seton catalog.
Okay. But last year, just for instance, we had a high schooler, a middle schooler, and a grade schooler. And it was about, and we also ordered books for our younger kids, and it was about $1,800 for the whole year for all of them.
For free.
For 3 enrolled and books for 2 other kids.
Books and the tuition.
The books separate too.
So you don't have to be enrolled.
Right, you can use their books. Absolutely.
Actually, I bought one of the handwriting books. I liked it a lot because they're teaching you to write like the 10 Commandments in cursive. So they're using a lot of the relationship with sacraments and stuff.
Right.
So it is good reading.
We use a lot of their books for our younger kids. I use a different reading program for them because I found one that I really, really liked, so I just stuck with that. But we do use a lot of their books for our younger kids and not enroll them.
So I kind of have a question that goes along with this, and I know you guys have a high school presentation coming up. I don't have anyone in high school yet, but the option then for a child, if you continue through high school to get a diploma, would be to enroll in something like Seton or an online school, or if you don't do something like that, then does the child just take the GED test? And then does anyone have anybody, this is probably more for that high school presentation, if you don't do something like this where you can earn a diploma and they just get the GED, does anyone have trouble getting into college with your GED and no transfer?
Not that I've heard. I think things have changed so much.
My child, my second son, he graduated with a diploma that I made for him.
Okay.
I ordered online and I did this transcript also for him. But I can back up the grades on that transcript. And I also had him take the ACT.
Oh, right.
Test. Okay. And for my research, what I found was that if you have the ACT, it sort of backs up what's on the transcript. And he's taken 3 cut tests and passed those at the college level.
to, you can set goals for your day, but just to be flexible because so many things can happen and can go wrong. And to just always look at each year as an experience and to go with that for the next year because no 2 years are the same. We've also, had things happen over the years where, we were sick one year for like a month, so we took that time off. We've had babies born during the middle of the year. We've had good years and bad years. We've had some miscarriages, and, so we were able to take time off for those. The one year that I say was probably our best school year, if you want to talk about an ideal school year, we had just taken a large trip, which is another thing that Elena had said about traveling. Our family loves to travel. We've taken several large trips. One year we left May 1st, and we were gone until July 1st, and took 10 or 9 weeks across the country, did 10,000 miles in our camper. We were using some Seton stuff at the time, but our kids had done a lot of their work ahead of time. And we took our books with us, and I told our kids, you do not have to open a textbook if you learn something every day and you have a good attitude. And they did. So we did a lot of unit studies that year. We were not enrolled in Seton at that point, but we did a lot of unit studies on Mount Rushmore and the Grand Canyon, all the places that we were hoping to go see. And then the next time in 2006, we had taken a trip out west again. We had gone in the end of June and into August. We took 6 weeks that time. And of course, when we got back, I wasn't ready to start school. I just needed to remember where to put everything in our house. And we ordered our things from Seton late. We didn't get started until close to the end of September. I did all my notification, but we hadn't started school yet. And about 4 days, I think it was, after we started our school year, I found out I was pregnant with our 6th child, and that she was going to be due in May. And, and we had originally thought, well, we'll start in September, finish in June, no big deal. Well, I knew from experience that when you stop and try and start again, it doesn't always go very smoothly, even just over Christmas break. And so we had a family meeting when we told the kids that we were expecting again, and I said, this baby is due in May. I would really like to be done by the end of April before the baby comes. And our oldest daughter finished April 30th. Our next one finished May 1st. Our son actually was done in March. He took that very, very seriously. So, exactly, yeah. So that was, that was a great school year because everybody kind of stepped up, and they were so excited about their sister being born, and we were able to have a 4-month summer vacation with this new baby. So that was, that was a great school year for us. But there's also been years that aren't as good. I think one of the things that I learned going to homeschooling groups with, homeschooling with toddlers is to have just a lot of options, We had things that we only pulled out during the school day. They weren't allowed to play with them the rest of the day. Where we school in our dining room, and so where I would sit, I could see into the kitchen and see the kids that were in the dining room. So I would allow our little kids to take their baby dolls and wash them in the sink, and that, I usually did that on Fridays because that was the day that I worked to get my kitchen floor washed. So it didn't matter if there was water everywhere. So that was the Friday activity. I would like to say I'm that organized now. I'm not. It's more of a, what do you want to do while we're doing school kind of thing. But I do use my middle kids a lot, especially our 7-year-old. He's pretty much done with school for the year. And so I will have him go and play with his younger sister if I need to work on something with one of the older kids. This year was really different for us with our oldest daughter being in college, and then our next daughter is in the Akron Early College High School program at Akron U. And so my 2 biggest helpers were gone. And so like I said, we just had to make adjustments. Again, every year it's just different as they get older. One thing that I do that some people say is a little intimidating, and it was for me at first until I got myself organized, is twice a year I cook. I've done it a couple of different ways. I've done it with a friend, I've done it by myself, I've done it with a couple of women, and then again by myself. twice a year. I save up for it, and I spend an entire day, 2 days cooking. And the kids help. My girls already know how to do this for when they have their own families. And I just do chicken and ground beef are the two things that I do. I cook, the last time I did it, I cooked 80 pounds of chicken, and I did 50 pounds of ground beef, and I did like 20 pounds of it into meatballs, and the rest of it I browned, and then I bagged. We cut up all the chicken, and I bagged everything individually, and we just stocked our freezer. And the nice thing about that is you can pull one of those bags out, like a bag of ground beef goes right into spaghetti sauce frozen, and you've got dinner. You know, boil some pasta, and it's great. So on those really hectic days when it's 4 o'clock and you think you forgot to make dinner, that's really helpful. If anybody's ever interested in that, if you want to ask me, I can give you some pointers on some of the things that I found that worked and didn't work. And then one of the other things that we do is have our kids do chores. I'm sure you all have your kids do chores, just to kind of teach them responsibility and to help keep up on the housework, because it, like you were saying, when you would see the bus go by, there are days that I think, my mess could walk out of the house. I could have the whole house clean before they get home from school, but it's good to have them help do things. So they each have chores that they do every morning. You know, our one son unloads the dishwasher, our daughter sorts the laundry, you know. But I guess my biggest thing is to just be flexible and talk to other moms and see. We've tried 5 or 6 different laundry schedules, you know, to see what works best. We finally have stumbled on one that works really well for us. But yeah, just to use other moms and get experience from them and see what works for them. So, does anyone have any other questions?
Yeah, what's your laundry thing?
Yeah. Oh, you know, actually, this was my husband's inspiration. We have basement laundry. I always thought I wanted first floor laundry. I don't think I ever want first floor laundry. Some of my friends who have it, their laundry comes out of their laundry room because those laundry rooms are so small. We have done things. We have one friend who assigned different days of the week to her different groups of children. She'd pair a big kid with a little kid, and that would be their laundry day. We have some friends who did laundry twice a week. We've done all of those, but what we did now is we set up, meaning my husband, set up a big table like this and then a small card table in the basement, and there's 7 baskets underneath the table. And so because of the amount of clothing, we separated it down further than we really need to. We have whites, lights, mediums, darks, jeans, and towels underneath. And I used a label maker and wrote that on the tables. And then on the top, I wrote above those, everybody has a spot on those tables. And basically, the way we do it is if there's a load pull, it gets washed. So it's not real organized, but we're downstairs enough, our shower is down there, so we're down there enough that if I see a load, yes, you know, load that needs washed, it goes in the washer, it gets folded as it comes out of the dryer, and everybody's responsible for getting their clothes upstairs. And then our nephew is with us about half of the week, so he has his own spot up there too. And then we just labeled it, and fortunately everyone in the house can read now. And so our 9-year-old, it's her responsibility to sort the hampers daily, other than Sundays. She sorts every day but